Hi, this is Tim Yoder with Fit Small Business. Today I will be evaluating Wave Accounting Software based on Chapter 3 of the Fit Small Business case study and completing the rubric. Um, so let's get started. So the first task in Chapter 3 is to set up a 6% sales tax to be collected on the sale of goods but not services payable to the state of New York. So I'm at our dashboard here in Wave. I believe sales tax settings are under Settings. And then here we have in accounting, we have sales taxes. Create a sales tax. Tax name, let's call it State of New York. Abbreviation, let's call it NYS. So we can put in a description, a tax number. Is this tax recoverable? See what it tells us about recoverable. Yeah, so we're non-recoverable is normal, so you just collect it and then you submit it to the tax authority rather than take it out of your own tax. So that makes sense. Okay, tax rate we want is 6%. Okay, well that seems easy enough. Nice. Okay, let's. That was the first task. It looked like it worked pretty well. Let's go into our rubric here. This is on another monitor, so you can't see it, but create a sales tax item. We were able to do that. Okay, next step, customize an invoice template by uploading a logo and adjusting the color scheme to match the logo. And then we want to personalize message across the bottom, thanking the customers. So I think, again, so we're still under settings here, invoice customization. Looks like we can choose 3 different invoice types. Okay, well, let's choose modern. We can choose a company logo. So let's go to our, right here, our plumbing logo. Did it work? Okay, well, there it's there. So display logo. No file chosen. I have to save it. Okay, so I had to save it before it uploaded it. So things like that can become pretty annoying with Wave. Okay, now we can display it. Good. Okay. The accent color, right now it's purple. That does not match very well. So let's see if we can pick something a little bit more blue. Probably got to save it to see it. Okay. Where can we preview this stuff? Okay, so invoice settings doesn't ask us to do this, but let's do it in 30 days. Leave all that stuff the same. Oh, so we wanted to put a note on each invoice, right? Thank you for your business. I think we can do that there. Okay, and there's a lot more invoice settings, reminders, etc. We can adjust the invoice columns. So pretty nice. But nowhere here does it allow you to actually view. Well, here, okay. Let's see. Does it? Let's change it back to modern. Okay, but that's not our invoice, right? It doesn't have our invoice. It doesn't have our logo. It doesn't have our colors. It's just a view of the. Okay. So I'm assuming we're going to get to see it when we create an invoice, but we can't see it here. Well, that's not very convenient at all. Okay, but let's go back to the rubric here. Choose invoice template. Yes, upload logo, change invoice colors. Tell you what, I'm only going to give it a half a point for that because we can't actually view what it looks like. How long is it going to take us to go back and forth between creating an invoice and these settings in order to look at what looks good? create a personalized message that let us do that. Okay. Let me put in a comment here. Cannot preview colors. Okay, so but we should be able to see that later. Okay. Next task in Chapter 3. On 116, issue an invoice to Family Bowling for the 40 hours of Hank's labor and the $200 permit fee. So in Chapter 2, we spent money on Hank's labor and on a $200 permit fee. We tried to assign that to the customer, Family Bowling, and now we want to bill it. However, Wave did not allow us to assign time and expenses to customers, so we're not going to be able to do that, but we can still create a bill. So let's do that, even though we're going to have to re-input the amounts that we want to charge. So let's go to Invoices. Okay, let's create an invoice to Family Bowling. Oh, we already got it there. Excellent. Family Bowling. Our invoice date we want to be January 16th. Okay. I guess it doesn't like, because the payment due date is before today, I guess it doesn't like it. So I guess we'll put in a date in the future here. It doesn't like us doing that. It doesn't like, okay, got to do the years first. Okay. Now we need to bill it for 40 hours of Hank's labor. So we already set up an item, plumbing labor. Now that $30 is wrong. That's what we paid for it, but we want to charge for it is $80, and Wave doesn't allow you, when you create that item, to put both what you want to charge for it and what you want to pay for it, or what you expect to pay for it. Okay, so $3,200 for that. Okay, let's add another item, and that is the permit fee. Okay, let's see if we can create it on the fly here. Okay, edit income account. So where do we want that $200 flowing to? And let's just keep it in. Let's just keep it in sales with everything else. Okay, no sales tax on this transaction. Okay, I'm going to hit preview, and let's see if it shows us our newly designed invoice. Well, kind of. Well, okay, so it's put our plumbing logo all the way down here, and I don't think it gave us any choice on where to put it, so it's not very customizable. Okay, save and continue. Okay, so let's approve the draft. We can email it, so that's good, but let's just mark it as sent. Okay, and then we can record a payment. Okay, so how can what we really want to do is be able to print it. I mean, that's one of the tasks we need to complete. So obviously, generally, emailing is going to be better, but let's make sure we can print it. Okay, so we can print it. It does not look as good though, does it? If we print it, it's not going to have the highlighted colors. That doesn't look very nice. Let's see if maybe that was just... Let's try that again. Instead of printing to my printer, what happens if we were to just save it as a PDF? Yeah, that's not nice at all. What happened to all our colors? Okay, so can you print it? You can, but it doesn't look good, so I'm going to give it a half a point on that as well. Okay, so let's see where we're at on our rubric. So create a new customer, that was no problem. Add unbilled labor and expenses, we were not able to do that. So we could add labor and expenses, but we had to re-enter them. If the program were a little more sophisticated, we could just grab the ones that when we paid the expense in Chapter 2, we should have been able to grab those and add them to the invoice. We couldn't do that. So print the invoice, I'm going to give it half a point because it dropped all the nice formatting. Email the invoice, we could do that. Okay, good. So I think that, okay, so that's that for that invoice. Okay, next task. On January 27th, record an invoice for the sale of 20 plumbing widgets to Big Time Diner for $25 each. Be sure to collect the 6% sales tax on the entire sale. Okay, so another invoice. So we're going to create another invoice. This time we're going to go to Big Time Diner, which is not yet set up. Okay, we're going to make the invoice date 127. Okay. Now this time it seems to be allowing us. We'll see, maybe it'll not allow that later. Okay, so now we're going to add some inventory. So plumbing widgets, nice, it's got that for us already. Again, it's pulling the price that we paid for it. And we don't want that. We want the price we're selling it for. We're selling them for $25 each. We're selling 20 of them for $25. Okay, and we need to charge tax on that of 6%. So let's grab here, let's use the sales tax we set up of 6% for that's $30. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and save and continue. Let's approve the draft and let's mark it as sent. Okay, great. That's the $530. Nice. Now the task list asks us a few things. Did the program automatically assign cost of goods sold? Well, I'm sure it didn't because Wave isn't keeping track of our quantity in inventory, and so it would be impossible for it to know what cost of goods sold are. But let's look at our reports here just to make sure. So let's look at our profit and loss statement. So it included, it's details, it included, let's see, can we, yeah, so that's the 3,200. What about the 600? Oh, here it is, and must be sales. Oh no, it was 500. Yeah, so it's the 500 for the plumbing widget. So it recorded the income, so that's good. But if we come down here to cost of goods sold, it does not record the cost of goods sold. So if we want to use first in first out, it would be $10 each. If we're going to use average cost, it's going to be $10.33 each. It didn't do that. All right, so all the cost, the inventory is still sitting on our balance sheet in inventory. So in order to show the proper cost of goods sold, we're going to have to make a manual journal entry. So this is not good at all. If you are using Wave with inventory, making this journal entry means that we're using perpetual inventory. So we're constantly making our inventory correct, which is the way you should do it nowadays. It's, we have all this accounting software. It's not hard, but with Wave you can't do that. So if you were using Wave, you'd use a periodic inventory system, meaning you would take a physical inventory count at the end of each period and then adjust your cost of goods sold. But again, there's no reason not to have a perpetual inventory system if you deal heavily in inventory. Okay, so we've got to figure out how to make a journal entry in this system. Accounting, transactions, more, add a journal transaction. Okay, so let's make this on the date of this sale, January 27th. So January 27th, I'm just going to say cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold. So our expense here is going to be cost of goods sold. Yeah, see, they even have it they have it set up for a periodic inventory system. So we're just going to put this to purchases. So it's really cost of goods sold. It's not just purchases, but we'll record it there. Essentially, this system is set up to where you record all of your purchases directly to your cost of goods sold, and then you adjust your inventory number at the end of the year. So we'll put it to that account, but it's not purchases. It's actual cost of goods sold. Okay, so 206.67 using the average cost method. 206.67. Okay. Then down here we got to take it out of inventory. Okay, and save. Okay, now let's look at our profit and loss statement. Purchases 206.67. Okay, so there we go. So again, don't use Wave if you have inventory. Okay, so let's take a look here. Let's complete the rubric. So add inventory to an invoice. So yes, that did fine. Charge sales tax. That was fine. Determine if the program automatically recorded cost of goods sold. It did not. Okay. Next task in the case study. On January 31st, create an invoice recurring monthly to Trampoline City for $100 per month for a service contract. No sales tax is collected. Okay, so we have a service contract recurring invoice. Okay, so let's go to sales. And under sales here we have recurring invoices. Okay, create a recurring invoice. Add a customer. We're going to have to create a new one. Trampoline City. Okay, and we're going to add an item to here. Service contract. What happened? Oh, create a new item. No sales tax. Okay. What income account is going to take it to sales? I'm fine with that. No sales tax. There we go. Okay, so invoice date auto-generated. So I'm finding this with multiple software. When you do a recurring invoice for this case study, we're kind of dating everything back in January of 2021. You can't do that with recurring invoices. It has to be in the future, which is fine. So let's say give them 30 days to pay. Invoice date auto-generated. Well, we need to be able to tell it a few things, right? Okay. So let's save and continue. Okay, here we go. Here's where it lets us set the schedule. So let's repeat this invoice monthly on the first day. So the first invoice will be created on September 1st and end never. Okay. I can live with that. That's pretty good. Okay. Excellent. Okay, so there we go. We've set up our recurring invoice. In our rubric, we're able to create a service contract item. Yes. Set up the invoice to recur monthly. Yes. Okay, excellent. Back to our tasks. Let's see. Next, on January 20th, you receive a check from Family Bowling for the full amount of the invoice. Record the receipt of the check, but don't deposit it into a bank account yet. So let's give that a shot. So let's pull up our invoices. And this was, we received the amount from Family Bowling. So can we see? Yep, there's Family Bowling. They owe us $3,400. So let's record the payment. Okay. Let's record a manual payment. The payment date was January 20th. Okay, the amount was $3,400. They paid us with a check and the payment account. Yeah, it looks like it's going to make us put it directly to the checking account. Okay. So submit. So what this is going to do though is going to show a $3,400. Oh, that's kind of neat. And then we can send a receipt afterwards. Nice. So it's going to show a $3,400 deposit in our check register, but we're not actually depositing the check yet. We're going to combine it with other checks, and so our check register is not going to match our bank statement, and that's going to make it hard to reconcile. Back to the rubric. Receive a check on an outstanding invoice. Yes, we were able to do that. Don't deposit the check received. No, we were not able to do that. Okay. Next task. On 125, an unknown customer comes into the office and purchases a plumbing widget for $25 cash. Record the cash received, but don't deposit it yet. Okay, so obviously we could do an invoice for it and then go in and mark the invoice paid, but I would rather we can do it in one step. So let's see what this checkouts is. Nope, that's not it. Okay, pavement's trying to... Okay, this is trying to get us to use their payment service. Yeah, I am not seeing anything in order to create a receipt instead of an invoice. Okay, so let's just do it with an invoice. So create an invoice, add a customer. I'm just going to call them walk-in customer. I can use it for everybody that just walks in and buys something. And this was on January 25th. Okay. Add an item. Plumbing widget 1. Again, it's showing us the wrong price. It's showing the price we paid. We want the price we sold it for, but you can't do that. Okay. It's subject to the 6% sales tax, so there's our sales tax. Okay, so we can save and continue. That records the invoice. Approve the draft. Mark as sent. Okay, now we can record the payment because they actually paid it immediately. They paid it with cash, and we're going to put that in our cash on hand and submit. Okay, so that was a lot of work just to do a receipt, and now we can actually send them a receipt to their email address. See what it will look like. Okay, and there we go. So we can make it work using invoices, but that's not the same as just being able to go in and issue a receipt. So I'm not giving them credit for that in the rubric. They get a 0. Okay. Now moving on 1:30, you receive a check from Big Time Diner for $200 towards their invoice. And then later that day, you receive the other $330. So I'm split it up into two checks because I want to see if it allows you to show your customer short paying an invoice. So let's go to Invoices. So the $530, let's record a payment. Let's record a manual payment. Instead of the $530, though, they only paid us $200. And they paid it with a check, and we're not depositing it yet, but we have no choice but to show it in the checking account. Okay, payment was recorded. Excellent. Now it shows us that they still owe us $330. Very good. So now let's record that second check of $330. Okay, so now we've collected the whole $530. Okay, so back to the rubric. Accept a short payment from a customer. Yes, we can do that. Okay. Then the case study wants us to combine this check with the one from Family Bowling and the $25 cash and deposit them all into the bank. Well, we can't do that, as we've talked about. It makes us, when we receive a payment, it's making us record it directly to the checking account immediately. So all of this has been done, but not the way we would like it done. The only thing that has not been deposited is the $25 in cash. So we need to make sure we transfer that $25 from our cash on hand into our checking account. So what is going to be the best way to do that? Maybe accounting, transactions. Is there like maybe a special transfer? What if we call it adding an expense? Yeah, here we go. We can do it this way. Okay, so we're depositing the cash into our bank account on 1/30. Okay, so this was deposit cash. We're taking it out of the cash on hand and we are depositing it. So here they have transferred to a bank and we're putting it into our checking account. Okay, and that was $25. So really not a very clean way of doing it. I mean, it seems very convoluted the way they have you set up that journal entry. But yeah, so it works. Okay, let's make sure everything looks right on our balance sheet though. So let's show our details here. Let's look at our checking account. Yeah, so here's the $25 showing up. Here's the two checks from the customer. Here's the $3,400. So we wanted all four of these combined into one deposit because that's what in reality is happening. So all of these are going to be combined into one number on our bank statement. Having them show up here as four numbers is confusing. Makes the reconciliation hard. Okay, so back to the rubric. Combine multiple checks received into a single deposit. No, we can't do that. Combine multiple checks and cash into a single deposit. We cannot do that. Okay, moving on in the case study. View outstanding invoices. The only invoice should be Trampoline City. So I do think we can view outstanding invoices pretty easily. Go to Sales, Invoices, and we don't have any outstanding. But that's fine because our recurring invoice isn't going to actually happen until September 1st. That's why it's not outstanding. Okay? Okay, so we're good. View outstanding invoices. Yes, you can do that. And yes, you can do it without generating a report. Okay. Moving on. On February 5th, Big Time Diner returns 2 plumbing widgets. Accept the widgets back into inventory. Issue them a credit memo including an adjustment for sales tax, and view the credit balance in their AR account, and then we want to actually refund the balance. Okay, so let's see how Wave is going to handle this. This is fairly complicated. So under sales, we have estimates, invoices. Okay, so let's go under invoices. This is usually where credit memos appear. Well, let's create an invoice. Can we turn this into a credit memo? Well, I don't care for that. Let's leave without saving. Tell you what, I'm going to pause the video for a minute. I'm going to do a little bit of Google research. Okay, I'm back. Other users are basically saying the same thing that I thought was going to happen, and that's we're going to have to create an invoice, and we're going to have to put negative amounts in the invoice. So there's really not going to be a credit memo to send them. It's going to be called an invoice when I'd much rather the header say credit memo. So let's see how this works though. So let's create an invoice. The credit memo is the Big Time Diner. The date is February 5th. Payment due really doesn't even make sense for a credit memo. Okay, they're returning plumbing widgets. 2 of them. They paid $25, so we're going to credit them $50, but it's negative 25. Okay, it allows us to do it. That's good. And what's it going to do with the sales tax? Okay, gives us a negative $3 sales tax. Okay, so it looks like this kind of might work, but again, this is not a credit memo. This really isn't acceptable. But let's hit save and continue. Approve the draft. Mark as sent. Okay, so let's see how this looks now. So can we view the credit in their, do they have a $53 credit in their account with us? So if we view all of our invoices here, the credit memo is not showing up. What about if we look at customers? Okay, so customers, Big Time Diner, does show a credit balance of $53. So we owe them $53. So that's acceptable, I suppose. Okay, so go back to our rubric here. Issue a credit memo to a customer. No, you can't do that. They include the sales tax adjustment on the credit memo. Well, I'm going to give it credit for that because you have to use an invoice instead of a credit memo, but you can put the tax on it. Record the inventory, return back in inventory. No, we know that Wave just doesn't deal with inventory. View the balance by customer. We were able to do that. Now we need to issue a refund. So how are we going to do that? What if we click Big Time Diner? Will it give us the details? Okay, so let's go into this negative $53 and record a payment. See, this is normally where we record payments received from them. But what happens if we record a negative receipt from them? $53. So let's do a payment date of 0205. We're going to pay them with a check, and we're going to take it out of our checking account. Okay, so I mean that looks good here. Okay, let's go into our checking account though, and let's see. Okay, you can't get to your checking account through your chart of accounts. So let's go to our reports, balance sheet, checking account. Yeah, see, here we go. This is a credit. So this is $53 coming out of our checking account, but it's labeled as invoice payment, right? So we couldn't give like a check number and stuff. So it kind of works, right? Um, I'll tell you, I'm going to give it a half a point because it kind of works, but it's not showing it as a check being paid. It's showing it as an invoice payment. It's going to be very hard to trace that down in the future if somebody's looking at this to try to understand what happened. So again, so there's workarounds with Wave to be able to do the credit memo stuff, but it should not be that complicated. Okay. View transactions summarized by customers. Yes, we're able to do that. We can, again, it's just the sales and then customers. Actually, pretty nice summary. Just click on a customer. Good. Okay. Last task. On February 15th, write a check to the state of New York for your sales tax liability as of 1/31. Okay, so we need to do our sales tax payment. Where is this going to be? Tax filing? No, this is really for income taxes. They'll want to set you up with H&R Block. Hmm. Yeah, this just allows you to set up the sales tax. Where do you actually pay the sales tax? So let's look quickly at our balance sheet. Make sure it seems to be recording the sales tax correctly. I think it is. So let's look at our balance sheet. Let's look at the detail. Let's look down here in our current liability, State of New York, 2850. So that's correct. Now we just got to figure out how in the world do we pay that amount. Hmm. So I don't see any system here set up to help us um, pay these sales tax. So we want to pay the amount due at the end of January. So that was before we refunded some of the sales tax. So we don't owe 2850, we owe more than that. So I guess we're going to click here to get exactly what we owed. So we can see we owed 3150 as of January 31st. So we're going to write a check for 3150. Okay, so how are we going to just write a check? Yeah, they like to build in a lot of their products, trying to sell you their products, which is fine. It's a free software. That's how they make their money. Um, okay, so I guess we just have to put it under. Guess we have to fill out a bill first and then pay it. Yeah, I kind of remember this is the way we have to do it with Wave, isn't it? What a pain. Okay, so I guess we're going to create a bill to the state of New York. Um, let's do it January 31st. Due date like 2/15. Item. I guess taxes payable. Was that where it was showing up? I want it this state of New York. Taxes recoverable. What the world? It shouldn't be an asset. Okay. Well, let's just do taxes payable. Um, what did we decide it should be? Like $31. I also don't like how it opens up a new window every time you click something. I've got like 5 windows open now. Yeah, 31.50. So we'll just put January sales tax due. Okay, so now we created the bill. Now we got to go in and record the payment. What a pain. Okay, so now let's see where it took it out on our balance sheet, is my concern. Yeah, see, that's the problem. It didn't take it out of this state of New York liability because it didn't give me the option for that liability. So the way we did it is just, it really doesn't work at all. It wouldn't give me the correct liability. So let me do a little bit of Google research before we call this and just say it doesn't work well with taxes at all. Let me do a little Google research. Be right back. Okay, so some other users are saying that they paid the sales tax through the transaction. So let's go ahead and let's see if we can delete what we've done. Okay, so we deleted that bill. Okay, now let's go into accounting, transactions. Okay, so let's do a journal transaction. Let's date it 2/15. So the first account is going to be a debit to our New York What in the world? I have never seen anything so simple made so complicated. So, Okay, I'm assuming this is the liability account where the money is sitting right now on the balance sheet. So let's choose that one. 3150. So that should take care of our liability. Um, Now let's take it out of our cash account. So this is our checking. 3150 and save it. Okay, now let's look at our balance sheet, see if we've done any better. Yes, okay, good. That's perfect, right? Because we have the $3 refund that we gave somebody that reduced our sales tax by $3. So that'll be taken care of in the next month's payment. Okay, so that looks like it did it. We had to create a journal entry to do it. Not great. Okay. Then the final thing with sales tax, can we view a sales tax report? And actually they do have that option, which is nice. Let's see what it looks like though. Well, that ain't much of a report. I mean, if you were trying to follow that and figure out the transactions for the period. Okay, well, there we go. Okay. Yeah, okay. I'll give them credit for that sales tax report. Okay, so going back to the rubric, view sales tax liability in detail. I'll say, yeah, we can kind of see that. Pay sales tax liability with a check. Um, I'm not going to give them credit for that because that journal entry, that's too much work. Pay sales tax liability electronically, no option for that, and no help with the sales tax return. Okay, excellent. So that's chapter 3 then on our Wave accounting software. Thanks.